And no, it didn't let me back in. And when I clicked, before it cut me off, I had clicked the play button and it wouldn't play. And so then it cut me off totally and kept giving me an error message. So technical difficulties, but we're here today.
All right. All right. Well, have a wonderful show, and we'll talk to you again tomorrow.
All righty. Welcome, everybody, to the second hour of Mind Shifters Radio. Today is Thursday, January the 21st, 2021. And our call-in number is 563-999-3581. And press 1, and that puts you into queue to talk to us. We'd love to hear your comments and questions because that makes this your show. And again, apologies for yesterday. I did talk to Blog Talk, and they said that they knew that there was some technical glitches, and they were looking into it. But so far, so good today. It looks like everything's up and running. So yesterday's archive is just 1 hour long. So we welcome you to the show. If you have comments or questions, do press 1 because it makes it your show when we're talking about what you want to hear or what you want to discuss. And so let us know. Where do you want to go with this? And if you're not familiar with the work, you can go to whyagain.org, WHYAGAIN.org. And there's all kinds of information. There's audios, videos, there's worksheets, there's Michael's book. There's just lots and lots of information. There's information about the Kavoris manuscript. If there's something you're looking for and you can't find it, drop me a line and I'll direct you to the link. And otherwise, give Michael just a minute. He's not on yet. But let us know what topic you want to go towards. I think it's awesome that Dr. Tim's covering the Course in Miracles daily. And he's been asking if there's someone that you would like for him to interview on the show. So please let him know about that. And, okay, Michael, are you with us? I guess not yet. So, press 1. Give us a conversation. Forgiveness work is not about letting another person off the hook, but about going inside and removing what's going on inside of you. I've been getting some emails from a young lady, and she's got all this drama and trauma going on, and the people out there, what they're doing to her, and she realizes it's triggering things that are inside of her. But, you know, what we really need to acknowledge is that when we hold an energy that is less than love, then we're really sending out a message asking for someone to come along and show us that part that we need to heal. So if you don't like what you're creating, then you need to do the forgiveness work, go inside, figure out what is underlying it. Because if we are created in the image of the Creator, that means we are creators. So if you don't like your creation, you've got to make a change because you're in charge. Welcome, Michael. I was just filling in time.
Well, you do it so gracefully, sweetheart. Thank you. And welcome, everybody. Delighted that you're here. And Jeanie is right on track. This idea of creatorship, you know, and of course, it's an idea that everybody absolutely loves. Oh, boy, I'm a creator. When the creation's going well, they love it. When it's not going so well, there's always a culprit, and the culprit is always them. And when you say, I'm ready to start to heal, and you reverse some of the creative processes in your life, the tendency is to go into healing crisis. The tendency is to step into a level of vitality that you haven't previously known, and at a new level of vitality, you start to look at what's been going on inside of you. And that isn't always fun. That isn't always Dr. Feelgood. So be prepared that, you know, life can seem to be going along fairly well. Well, these people show up or those people show up, and all I have to do is get rid of them, and then everything will be all right. And when that happens, I'll pretend that my name is Richard as the character in our book. And Richard, of course, knows that the problem in his life is everybody else. And if you think that there's somebody in your life that if they just change, your life would be better, it's time to start recognizing that, yes, things can change for the better if certain people disappear. But if there's pain going on in you, the pain that you're experiencing is happening inside of you. So if we look at chapter 2 in the book, what causes our pain? For those who have the book, if you want to follow along, it's on page 5. Pain, like all feelings, is under control of the person experiencing it. However, if we refuse responsibility, it will seem that others inflict our pain upon us, and that is therefore inescapable. The pain Richard was experiencing was a result of an internal process. It was not caused by others. In order for Richard to heal, it was essential that he step apart from his internal dialogue that convinced him that everyone else was the problem in his life. He had to let go long enough to hear something other than what was going on in his head. I hear you saying, Michael, that you've had Richard, had many unhappy experiences in your relationships, and I understand that your mind makes it look like the source of your pain is outside of you. To think the cause is external is confusing the trigger for your pain with the mechanism that delivers it. The pain you feel is not dependent upon outside events, and no one but you can create what you feel inside. His response was sharp and cutting. "You're just handing me more guilt," he shot back quickly, "and all I want to know is how to make sure that what I've been going through doesn't happen again." When I introduced Richard to the idea that we're each responsible for our pain, he heard, as many of us do when someone points out that we may have erred, something different. I spoke of responsibility, but Richard interpreted my words to mean other than what I intended. This brought to light an essential element in the healing process. There's a difference between what happens in the world and what the mind's interpretation of those events is. One triggers feelings, the other causes them. Grasping this concept is a key to personal empowerment and the release of pain. What Richard perceived as the cause of his unhappiness was nothing more than a trigger which served to bring awareness to an experience stored within him, one which he had repeated so often it was now old and familiar. Richard, if you want to create your life differently, you must live from the place of knowing that you're the root cause of all that you experience. Knowing that you're at cause in your life rather than continuously being triggered into old patterns is a source of empowerment. The thought that we're responsible for our lives can be difficult the first time we hear it. Richard appeared to flip-flop between hunger for understanding and his resistance to taking responsibility. For instance, Richard, a few minutes ago I spoke to you of responsibility. What you heard was guilt, fault, and blame. As you listened to your internal dialogue, it informed you of the potential pain in being to blame. Next came the defenses you've built up against being at fault and guilty, which are your mind's interpretation of responsibility. The reason you don't escape your pain, when you leave a relationship, is the pain is internal and you take it with you when you go. The fact that you can't hide your pain successfully does not mean, that you can hide your pain successfully does not mean it's gone. There's a toll for hanging on to a negative energy, even when it is not being consciously experienced. Anyone who just says the right words can trigger what you are trying to hide from yourself. Your pain is caused by the energy that you're holding, not by them. Key thought at this point is, just because you leave doesn't mean that you're not in the same place. And so we'll leave the reading of chapter 2 in the book at this point, and we'll open the space if anyone's out there with a hand up in the phone queue, Jeanie, or anything happening in the chat room. we get our chat room back all right today?
We do.
Jeanie.
Everything seems to be working fine today.
Oh,
Blog
good.
Talk said they knew there were glitches yesterday, so it's, the second hour didn't play at all. And so anyway,
Ouch.
but nobody has a hand up, and there is no questions in the chat room. So press 1, you're first in line without waiting.
So what's on your mind today, folks? We're here for a conversation. We'd love to hear from you. Go ahead, Jeanie.
I was just going to say we're less than a week away from the second intensive, so if somebody that is either participated in the last one and is going to join us in this next one, or some of the new people, if you have a question about what it's going to look like even, perhaps that's a conversation.
And or if you were in the last intensive and something open for you, put your hand up and share it with us. Go ahead, Jeanie.
We have a hand up, area code 480.
Awesome.
You're on the air.
Good morning, Michael and Jeanie.
Well, hey there, young man. Welcome.
How you doing, Michael?
I'm rocking. Doing well. It's a little bit harried here with getting all of the intensive materials together and rocking, and we just, as you noticed, are setting up for the new group on our WhatsApp support, codependent support page, or app. So there's lots happening here, but we're rocking.
Well,
how about you?
I'm rocking too, back and forth.
Aha. Cool.
So, so please let me let me preface with what I'm about to say with this. Clearly, what's going on with me these days, Michael, in terms of my rocking back and forth, it's all good because you asked me a question the last time we spoke, or 2 times ago actually, which was, are things coming up for you now with this intensive in front of you? And what I interpreted that question to mean is literally, are things surfacing in me because the intensive is on the horizon? And I've been to other intensives, not yours, but when the intensive itself was on the horizon, sure enough, before attending, my crap would come to the surface as if something in there was being provoked. And it's up now. Am I on the right track?
Michael, you're talking, but I'm not hearing you through the radio.
Yeah, nor am I. Thanks,
Excuse me, I was mute challenged. So that's awesome. It's right on track. The minute you make a commitment to the intensive, the energy starts to move. Why would that happen? Because the minute you connect with, the people that are coming together, just on an energetic level, you move to a new level of vitality. And each new level of vitality means that you get to look at the next deeper layer that you need to ultimately work through. And so the whole process is about working through it. So you're right on track. I'm excited for you.
Well,
all the world rejoices.
Mm-hmm.
Not
and can I add something?
Please.
I catch myself occasionally rocking too. And that comes from being a child and needing to be nurtured and reassured and to feel safe, I think. That's my opinion. In my instance, it is. It's a way of comforting yourself.
Okay. Well, so Michael, the way that I see that you just phrased it, let me put it like this. Crap has come up. And like I said, and like you said repeatedly, it's not pleasant. It never is. And and that's why I prefaced this by saying this is all good. I knew it was going to come up. That's why it's good, is that it's there for an alternate purpose now, other than me to just stay mired in it and believe that's what I am, because it's not. So I'm watching it, but Michael, here's a perfect example of what I'm describing here, which is, I last time I talked to you, I told you that I'd been experiencing vitality increase, like you had made mention, and it's true.
Right.
And specifically, here's an aspect of it. One day I was at work at the gas station, and I'd already done a couple worksheets on this, and I asked Ruka, Yeshua, and for me, Miriam, to help me just be in that, in a place where I had peace of mind all day at that gas station. And I'd like to add something here. I've said this before. So, Michael, the willingness was more than there. And I'm a person who, my interpretation of the Course is that when I combine my willingness with intense desire, and that's what I was doing, I was saying repeatedly that day, the peace of God is the only thing I want here. And I meant it when I said it. Please help me. And then I just kept naming the three I just named. And sure enough,
right,
it was delivered. I felt so good the whole day at that job, and it's been a place of conflict for me, as you know. And that includes with the manager. He was getting, doing his usual thing of easily getting angry over little things, and even directing statements to me, and it was water off a duck's back. I didn't react at all. Not easy. And I had to ask myself, why have I ever reacted this in the first place? And the answer is because strings of my power person were stoked or plucked, and this is what I had to deal with. And it's taken me a little bit of time to go from A to Z.
Nice work.
Thank you. And
that's awesome.
This I know too from experience. Whenever I have an experience like that, you call it what you will. I know that ego in me is not going to like it and is going to react. And here it is, just a couple days later, and suddenly this voice in my head, and this is right out of the Course, it's making an enemy out of everything and everyone right now.
More opportunities to learn forgiveness. How appropriate.
Lord. I'm just sitting there watching and listening to this thing, and it's unbelievable. And of course, yesterday, wait, I think I may have left something out here. So it's having a fit, it's having a tantrum, and it's all about autonomy. Who is the author of my reality or my actuality, as you say? And is it this ego thing that I made up that I know is a false identity that has zero power? Or is it the thing that I've been moving toward, which is my true identity and has all power? That's a big question. But hey,
the authority issue.
What's that?
I say the authority issue.
Absolutely. Yeah. And, there's one of those bottom line themes of what it's really all about. Who created me? God or some special version of me? And so, I'm watching. And
that, as I said in the early part of the introduction, was, everybody loves the idea of being a creator when the creation's going well, but they want a different author when it's not going so well. You're the problem in my life. Okay, so yesterday, I so
did it to myself. Followed the wrong voice down the rabbit hole into darkness, and Ruka was speaking to me throughout. And here's what happened. So as you know, I've been in the process of applying for substitute teaching to get myself out of that gas station job. Lo and behold, Mike, when I was subbing in Arizona, it's like $95, $100 a day. So I figured here in Oregon, maybe 120. I look it up, and one, I have to be certified to teach in this state to even sub. And in Arizona, all you need is a bachelor's degree. And two, and more specifically, they pay $190 a day to sub in this state. That's
not
if
bad.
If I sub 5 days a week here, that's a gross of $1,000 almost.
You're rocking.
Holy cow.
Well, congratulations to Oregon. Teachers deserve it.
Thanks. There's a lot of things that I'm finding out that are good about this state. But anyways, so I need to get this fingerprinting done because there's a glitch in the state system, et cetera. No big deal. But I tried to get all this done on my phone at work yesterday, and I told myself, and this came from Ruka, don't do it. Trying to multitask and fill out an applications on a phone while I'm at work could be a problem. And
on your employer's time. Aha.
Oh, not just, well, because I'm sitting there often and waiting for customers to show up. I mean, I'm always doing something on that phone. Well, not always, but the other guys, they'd sit there and they just play games on their phone. So I'm trying to move myself forward, and it's okay. No, the problem is all of the multitasking and try to fill out a full page application on a little cell phone. I just knew that it was because I've done it before. It was an invitation to ego trouble, and it was, because this happened, that happened, cars pull in, I'm in the middle, and so that's beside the point. I sat there and watched myself come unglued and get angry and rageful, etc. And then I finally made the decision. I said, okay, that's it. I'm done. I am not touching any of this until tomorrow. And then someone else in something that's not even related to any of this approached me about something and said this is my reaction, said the wrong thing at the wrong time, so to speak. And so I had 2 items on my plate and just started fuming about everything.
And notice that the only time you get those reactions, and just break down that word, how did you redo an act that was done on a previous occasion, is when someone isn't fulfilling the goal for you.
Yep.
And the way to heal that whole response is by canceling those goals, so you get to look at what the goal is recruiting from under the surface of the mind and bring it forward for healing.
Absolutely right. And as you know, for me, it's not just, it's 2 levels of goals here. There's an anger goal that's a big part of it at the surface. And then for me specifically, based upon that personal code evaluation, it's the fear that's driving it underneath. And here it is. I mean, very specifically, Michael, with me doing all this control-oriented stuff toward getting this application in on, and doing it at work, and what's the rush, and all this insistence. I looked at that and I said, well, hey, this is about me surviving as a body. This has to be done. Has to now. And I was letting myself be driven by that goal as well. Goals. And
and notice
notice
that the anger is nothing more or not really much different than just taking a shot of whiskey to anesthetize the underlying frustration and pain.
Right.
That's all the anger is. It's just a drug.
Mm-hmm.
You know, people tend to put anger in the category of feelings or emotions. My offering is anger is not an emotion, it's a drug. It's no different than a fifth of scotch. And if you're ever going to break through what underlies what you're using the drug for, you've got to stop being a user. You've got to let go of the drug.
And with that said, I picked up the drug yesterday. It's that simple. But then I started looking at what was underneath, and heck, Michael, it's all there. It's the fear of death, you know, that was driving that survival instinct. It's and as I've and then in relation, I looked at the power person dynamic, you know, and specifically it's this. As I've been waking up more to my actuality, this is what happens. That ego identity gets threatened because what's on the table for me is not just a fear of death and reacting toward, you know, being a body, an animal aimed at survival, but this. I recognize that with this authority, autonomy thing, it's also the fear of God because I'm surrendering my will essentially and have an expectation of punishment by doing so. And there's the power person. This is just all dug up from the past and projecting that into the present and into the future. And with that fear of God, there's also, and this is the most intense, there's this fear of myself with a capital S. And now that's present. And I'm doing everything to identify that, which is, you know, even today, I recognize where I am and what's coming up. And I say, okay, this is what Michael says. This is all an opportunity. And this is pre-intensive stuff. And it's all good because I'm going to use all of it to help me wake up. So, yeah.
Sounds like you're getting conscious of it all, my friend. That's awesome.
It's
right on track.
The difference now is that I'm observing this come up, and even yesterday when I was just beside myself and cursing and all that stuff, within a minute or so, I was just like, man, stop doing this. Stop the multitasking. Just focus on the customers, settle down, and ask for help from Ruka and Yeshua, and just get a little distance, a little perspective on this, and chill. And that's what I did. So even there, a month ago or so, I might have taken these circumstances and ridden this dark horse for a couple of days, and now it's a couple of minutes. I'm just like, now this is ridiculous, and it's a great opportunity. Put it on the worksheet.
Yeah. Why would I want to be disturbed when I could be at peace? Once I stop pretending they did it to me, I have to start going like, why am I doing this to myself again?
Mm-hmm. And now here's a question for you, because I've heard you say that true Aramaic forgiveness is not about forgiving myself. And I know
correct,
or I realize that what you mean by that is it's not about just letting myself off the hook, because that's false forgiveness. What it's about is taking a look at and going through. But lately, Michael, to my not really too surprising, but some of the hatred that's come up has not been projected at a thing outside of myself. Well, it starts that way, but then it starts to turn inward, and the self-hate thoughts come up, and I'm sitting there observing those as well, going, that's interesting. Where'd that come from? And so there is forgiveness of myself, so to speak. But I'd like to hear your take on self-forgiveness then, because
never do it. Big mistake. Never go there.
Okay. Please expand.
Big mistake. Never go there. Pardon yourself if you choose. Boy, I did something really crazy there. I could be down on myself and all upset with myself, but I think I'll let myself off the hook. That's perfectly appropriate. The world calls that forgiveness, but that's actually pardoning. So if you do choose to do that, great, do that. Pardon yourself, but call it what it is. Then, recognizing that what you did triggered deep pain in you, you then take the next step of applying forgiveness to the removal of the pain. So there's two different processes. People tend to, the whole Greek world has taught us forgiveness is this letting off the hook thing. But it's not forgiveness at all. So self-forgiveness is a myth and leads to delusion. And the delusion is, I'll let myself off the hook, and by so doing, I leave my pain in place to rise up another time in another circumstance when I have somebody else violate a goal that I hold in my mind. So I delude myself into thinking I'm finished with it, but I carry on my life, carrying the load of that pain.
And for me,
forgiveness is to free yourself, literally, of the capacity for pain.
So, and I haven't, well, yes I have. I've done it a few times. But when that's come up for me, then essentially I'm just going ahead and putting my name as on the worksheet. And
absolutely.
Because hatred is hatred. It really doesn't matter what form it comes up in or who it's directed at, right?
Exactly. And forgiveness is the removal of hatred, whether the hatred is of self or other, according to the mind.
And I brought this up in the last conversation too, which is, all of this. I'll speak for myself. All of this hatred that's in my mind is a direct reflection of this guilt, be it subconscious or whatever, that I'm barely even aware of. All this attack and the whole setup is about protecting this hidden. This is out of the course, as you know, but it's all about protecting this hidden guilt that I seem to cherish, but now no longer want. And so when that was brought up in our last conversation, I'm adding that as a component to every worksheet I do in the intensive. Whatever hidden guilt is under here, Ruka, drag it out. Take it away.
I'm ready to let go of it. Nice.
Get rid of it. Yeah. And then
there's a great line.
Yeah, please.
Before you go on to a different thing, there's a great line in the lesson, What is the World, from the Course. And it says, the world you see will remain no longer than the thought that gave it birth is cherished. So the world of pain and trauma is there because we've cherished and used some aspect of that pain and trauma. Once we have no use for it anymore, once we drop the belief that it can protect us, help us, heal us, get us what we want, then it can be disappeared. But as long as there's some hidden part of my mind that thinks, well, I'll just keep this little bit of rage in case I need it. Somebody attacks me and I need it. Then rage remains. It's, one of the precursors to disappearing all of that is to recognize it has nothing to do with what you want. It will never get you what you want.
All right. I'm glad you said that, because it brings up for me yet another conclusion that I've reached of late, which is, okay, so my 30-year-old health issue, it's as simple, to me now, it's as simple as what you just said. I'm using that as some form of protection. This is the irony. I'm using it to keep myself, I'm using illness to keep myself, little self, safe and healthy. Believe that? That's how upside down that thinking is. And
yeah, that's true.
I'm looking at it now saying, well, okay, then if I know that's, upside down, inside out, and has not one grain of truth to it, then why not just set it down and let it go? And as you know, there's no order of difficulty in miracles, so it's a legitimate question. Why don't I?
Yep.
That's what the intensive is for. I'm going to start peeling this back until I let go of all this stuff that I've been hanging on to because I think it's beneficial. It is not.
No longer than the thought that gave it birth is cherished.
Right. Yeah.
Nice work. Good catch.
Thanks. And the whole idea that I've cooked this up as a response to, a dynamic that I had going with my dad as a kid. Well, that seems absurd, but is it? No. Clearly it's not absurd, and clearly it's what I've been holding up. Time to let it go.
Time to move on. Nice work. Good for you. I'm delighted to hear it. There's some powerful insights there. Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks. And
all right.
I wanted to add one more thing, Michael, and that's about the intensive. I'm the kind of person, it seems, well, let me put it this way. With an intensive, where I have a group dynamic and some leadership and the ability to participate, I find that I'm much more motivated to do my work.
Yeah, there's nothing like everybody moving in the same direction. It makes for powerful support for sure.
Yeah, because otherwise, on my own, I get a lot more accomplished in the group dynamic. And a brief comment on that: the group dynamic to me is a multiplication of energy factor, and it can move in the direction of healing. Yeah, well, it can move in the direction of healing, like your intensive, or it can move in the direction of not healing, like those riots, right?
That's it.
That's
exactly.
That's a group dynamic where energy is multiplied in the wrong direction.
Mass hypnosis.
Yep. And let's join together and multiply our mass hypnosis. Well, okay. Well, anyway.
Or we can do it from a place of being awake and choosing to make a contribution.
Right. Exactly. And,
cool.
Yeah. And
all right, sir.
Okay, I'm good.
Congratulations. We're delighted to be hearing the process and look forward to interacting in the intensive with you.
Great. All right.
All right, sir.
And
have a blessed one.
I'm organized and I'm ready to go.
All right. Cool.
All right. Thanks, Michael.
Okay. Blessings. Bye-bye.
Bye.
So 646. No, it's not 646. Where'd I get that? Okay, 563. I don't know either. 563-999-3581 and press 1. And that puts you in queue. There's nobody else with a hand up, so if you press 1, you're first in line. We have 20 minutes.
Yay, let's go for it. So that's the calling number. If you're on one of those stations where we can't see you, and if you call that number, you'll be listening to the show. And then if you push 1, that will raise a hand in the phone queue, and you and I will be having a conversation. So what is on your mind? How can we support you? Nobody out there has a thought or a question on all the conversation that's gone before us here today. I know that at least 99.9% of the planet believes that their pain is caused by someone else. You know, how often have you said it? You made me mad. Oh, that just disturbs me so much. Oh, when you do that, you just drive me crazy. Well, you might want to notice that every time you've been quote-unquote driven crazy, you're the only one that was there. And your crazy is your crazy, and you'll never be free of it. You say, I hate this crazy. Well, then why do you keep doing it to yourself? Well, I'm not doing it to myself. He is, she is, they are. Well, notice with every he, she, or they in the world that's gone on with, you were there every time. It's about you. And when you bring in first century Aramaic forgiveness, then you get to drop into that part of your mind and clean it up. Now, there's several ways to access the forgiveness process as we've decoded it from the first century Aramaic. You can go to our website, whyagain.org, and in the upper left-hand corner, you'll see a little link that says Start Here. Click the Start Here button, and that will walk you through everything we've got on first century Aramaic forgiveness. Just click that link, and you'll see link after link after link that'll walk you through the depths of understanding of how this process works and how to carry it out. So please, take those tools and use them. There's a worksheet process, a step-by-step. Here's how you forgive. Just follow it and fill in the blanks. And people go, well, but you know, I don't believe this or that or the next thing. The beauty of this process is you don't have to believe a thing. You don't have to agree with me. In fact, I'd prefer you didn't believe a word I say. Just take it, put it to work, and watch what happens to your mind. They're the principles behind how the mind works. And so take it and put it to work in your life and watch what happens. You can actually do the worksheet process right there live on the website. You can print off any one of the different versions of the worksheet process that is there on the website. You can also go to the App Store in your phone and type in the words Heartland, Heartland, all one word, Aramaic, Aramaic, forgiveness. When you type in those words, you'll be looking at, as far as I know, the world's only forgiveness app. And in that app, once you load it on your phone, there are different versions of the reality management process. There's a simpler form and a more in-depth form. So you can do those live on your phone. There's also a game called the Dragon Klingon game that is used to introduce children to forgiveness. When you complete the worksheet process, you've got it all filled out, you've told it all kinds of private, secret things. We've purposely designed the app so the only access that the app has in your phone or through your phone is to the internet, so that obviously it can operate. Other than that, there are no permissions required, so that you can be assured it's totally and completely private. So you can feel comfortable putting anything in it. When you complete, if you choose to, you can print it as a PDF, and of course, it will ask for one more permission than using the internet. If you print it, it has to have permission to write to your drive to save it. Otherwise, there are no permissions needed on the app whatsoever, and we did that purposely so that you would know it was yours and yours only. You're the only one with access to it, what you do with the app. So put it on your phone, go to work with the forgiveness process. As you engage in it, because we're really talking about a reversal here, You'll remember that the world has told you that forgiveness is how I'm going to let you off the hook for what's happening inside of me. When the truth is, forgiveness is a tool with which I go inside my own mind and remove the pain, the drama, the trauma, the hate, the fear, the rage, the sadness, the guilt, the grief, the whatever is going on. So engage in the process if you choose to, and it's a good idea to keep a record of the worksheets that you've done. You can save it to your hard drive so you can go back and look. And what I've found over the years is when I go look at old worksheets, is oftentimes there's another gift. I have a whole new set of brain cells that I come to this worksheet, maybe I did it 2 years ago, and I go back and I look through it, and wow, there's another insight, there's another piece, another nugget to be had out of that issue or that situation. So you can save your worksheets for future review. And of course, if as you do the worksheet process, you come up with questions on, well, what does this mean? What does that mean? How do you do this? How do you do that? The purpose of our show is to be the space and to answer those questions. So if you're out there and we can be of any support in any way, shape, or form with anything to do with this work, that's our purpose in being here. And of course, when we complete the show, if there's something in particular that struck you that you really think you need to hear again, then just once the show is complete, go to our website, whyagain.org. There's a microphone in the middle of the page. Click the microphone, follow it down, drill down, and just a few minutes after the show is complete, you will see a link. You'll be able to listen to it on your phone or on your computer. You can download it to your phone or your computer, save it. You can, put that link into an email, send it to somebody else. Oh boy, Bill would really benefit from this. I think I'll send him a copy of the radio show. So there are lots of ways to garner support. We are continuously developing new ways to do that. And if there's any way, shape, or form that we can assist you, even with the smallest question around the use of these tools, that's our purpose for being here on the radio show. So if you have a question or something we can support you with, again, if you're on one of those stations where we can't see you, our call-in number is 563-999-3581. Once you're in there, you're listening to the show. And if you push 1, that raises a hand in the phone queue, so Jeanie will know that you have something you want to say for you. What's on your mind?
I don't know what made me think of this, but since there's no hand up, maybe this will stimulate another question. I believe that it was Magda that pointed this out, but I'm not sure. When we do a worksheet and we get down to step 7 and we create a loving goal toward the object of attention, that is still a goal. And we're only supposed to keep a goal active for the next waking period. So if you don't achieve that goal within your next waking period, you also need to cancel that goal in the evening, and you can reset it the next day. And that's something that I hadn't thought of, and I don't know how many worksheets I've done since I met you, and how many of those goals that never got canceled and they were still running and using up resources.
Mm-hmm. And creating stress. To me, one of the giant understandings that came out of working with the first century translation of Yeshua's words is to recognize that the way stress is created is by setting a goal. Whenever I set a goal in my mind, I create a stress, and that's a wonderful thing. Now, stress has gotten a bad rap in this culture because who, before you came across this work, who ever suggested that you cancel a goal? You ever hear of that? It's unheard of in our culture. No, go achieve, 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 achieve. But specifically canceling the goal removes the stress from the mind. Otherwise, as long as that goal is held in the mind, there's going to be stress related to it. And when we build up more stress than we need, that's when we start moving behaviorally into the power person dynamic. Now, there's one of the gifts of the codependence work, is to recognize that my behaviors, So let me back up a little bit. The power person dynamic, once installed in the mind, is the determiner of behaviors in every circumstance. The level of stress I'm under, that is, the number of unresolved goals that I have running in me, will determine my level of stress. So when I'm at a nil stress or a low stress point, I'll tend to behave as I behaved when I was getting along with my power person. When stress starts to build, we move out of that and we move into doing whatever we did to resist and survive with the power person. And then when one becomes ultra stressed, they'll do whatever their power person did to them that they hated the most. When I recognize that that's what keys into behavior, people will say, well, geez, I've known Bill, we got together, we developed a relationship. He's always been such a nice guy, always so easy to get along with. But, I noticed last week that, he was just getting really snarky with people. And it's like, that's so unlike him. Go talk to Bill and ask him. And you know what you're going to find out? If he's normally Mr. Nice Guy and all of a sudden he's Mr. Snarky, you'll find out that when the stress was up with his relationship with his power person, those behaviors were developed in that circumstance with his power person. And then, if the stress continues to build and he becomes ultra stressed, that's when he'll start to do what his power person did to him that he hated the most. So you can, set your clock by that. That's just how the human mind operates. And there are people who say, oh, well, I don't need that forgiveness stuff because my mind operates differently. Excuse me? There is not one mind on the planet that operates other than in relationship with goals, and their stress level is determined by the number of goals that are active in their minds. And there are only two ways to get rid of the stress from a goal. You either have to achieve the goal or cancel the goal. Now, you take a look around and you see that most people, in fact, the number one thing that brings people to doctors is excessive stress. So there's no conscious knowledge of what is happening in that circumstance. But when stress is elevated, that's why people's personalities change. That's why they move from being Mr. Nice Guy to all of a sudden being Mr. Snarky and then Mr. Abuse. Because in their childhood, and it's not necessarily always childhood, it can be adulthood too, the power person dynamic can develop. They were Mr. Nice Guy, they got along with their power person, except when stress started to build, and then they become snarky with their power person. And then, when they're ultra stressed, if they look back, they'll find that what they're motivated to do is whatever their power person did to them that they hated the most. Makes the world go round. And so when you cancel a goal, you just alleviate yourself of the stress. So when you become ultra stressed and find yourself doing power person behaviors, that's where you can stop and you can start canceling the goals until your stress level gets back to an acceptable level and you're back to sanity. When you find yourself out of control, that's where, if you develop the ability to become the thinker apart from your own thoughts, the feeler apart from your feelings, the actor apart from your actions, when you can step back and observe your mind and body in operation, then you get to start to see the common thread that runs through the untoward circumstances. And no matter what's happening, no matter how high the stress is, you always have the ability to cancel the goal that's running the show at that moment. And oftentimes people set goals for themselves and they're totally, completely oblivious to it. No idea that that's what they're doing. But if you find yourself doing behaviors that you say to yourself, I don't like myself doing this, start looking at how many goals are on your plate. And if you go back to the Aramaic language, the passage that the Greeks translated, where they quote Yeshua saying, sufficient for the day are the evils thereof. You wouldn't know by the English translation of those Aramaic words that what Yeshua was teaching then was stress management. Sufficient for the day are the evils thereof. In essence, what he was saying is, refrain from overloading your mind with goals, because if you do, then you'll get lost in the power person dynamic of your own life. Instead of you responding to what's happening in your world, your mind will react out of those old unconscious dynamics. So when you develop the ability to step back from your own mind, you become the thinker apart from the thought, the feeler apart from the feelings, the actor apart from the actions. In that posture, you get to observe your mind in operation and go, wow, that looks just like my power. Boy, I never realized I was that much like my power person. I always said I never wanted to be like my mother, father, whatever. Why? Because there are unresolved energetic dynamics within myself that I unconsciously know that I will fall into. And the idea of this work is to continuously be aware of the goals that are driving the behaviors of the moment. And when the behaviors are out of line with truth, then I want to actively step into the canceling of that goal and the processing through of the underlying aberrant behaviors. Changes the whole game, changes everything. So we're here to support you, changing absolutely everything. And Jeanie, we've got about 4 minutes left. Do we have anybody else in the phone queue or anything happening in the chat room?
Just chatting with Bob in the chat room, and we're actually 2 minutes on the scoreboard. I mean, on the switchboard. Scoreboard.
Oh, okay, scoreboard. Playing hockey here. Okay. Well, thanks for the conversation yesterday, Bob. Delighted to have you on the team down there, anchoring the space of love in the earth. And it's interesting, our intensive, we're going to have people from, at this moment, from Hawaii to Thailand participating. And so we've actually been talking with one gentleman down in New Zealand who might participate. But that's the anchoring of the energy around the earth is an awesome thing, and we appreciate your support. And we appreciate everybody who lends an ear and passes the tools on. And thank you for sharing